Knives Out real killer and ending explained in detail. Rian Johnson's twisty murder mystery Knives Out has a lot of surprises, and the Knives Out ending reveals the true tragedy behind the death of famous author Harlan Thrombey, Christopher Plummer. The film stars Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc, a private investigator hired to investigate Harlan's apparent suicide following a birthday party at his home. Over the course of the film, Benoit discovers that every member of Harlan's family had a motive to kill him, whether it was covering up a secret affair or securing a stake in his enormous fortune. While each of them is guilty of one sin or another, only one of them actually plotted to kill Harlan, his grandson, Hugh Ransom Drysdale, Chris Evans. The reveal in the Knives Out ending comes from flashbacks and several twists and turns throughout the movie's final act. Just as Rian Johnson sets up a twisty murder mystery in Knives Out, he does the same in its sequel, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, but the twist-heavy final act remains the most talked about. Since the final act moves along at a rapid pace, things can get confusing. What actually happens in the Knives Out ending? The third act has Marta visiting Fran, who knows that Ransom is the killer and has a photocopy of Harlan's blood test to prove he isn't innocent. Fran is dying when Marta finds her, and the nurse is obviously set up by the real killer. Scared that she is causing more deaths, Marta confesses to accidentally injecting Harlan with morphine to Blanc, and Fran is rushed to hospital. Marta almost confesses everything to the Thrombey family too, but after seeing the blood test, Blanc realizes that Marta is innocent. What follows is a classic murder mystery ending, as the already iconic Benoit Blanc expertly deduces everything that happened during the night of Harlan's death, including Ransom returning to the house, climbing the trellis, and switching the medication. After it's all laid out in front of him and Marta lies about Fran's survival, Ransom confesses, believing he's going down due to Fran's testimony. However, it's revealed that Fran died, but Marta recorded the monologue on her phone. After a failed attempt to kill Marta, Ransom is taken into custody, and Marta takes the keys to the mansion and everything else that Harlan owns. Harlan's death in Knives Out explained. Rian Johnson surprises audiences by showing how Harlan died very early on in Knives Out. Harlan is being given his nighttime medication by his nurse, Marta Ana de Armas, when the medication is knocked over. Marta picks up the vials, but after giving Harlan the injections, realizes she has switched the vials and accidentally given him a lethal dose of morphine. To make matters worse, the antidote is strangely missing from her medicine bag. Knowing that she would be blamed for his death and her mother could be deported amid the scandal, Harlan gives Marta careful instructions to be seen leaving the house, then return later so that she could go downstairs disguised as Harlan. This would pin his hour of death to a time after Marta had already left. Before the morphine overdose could kill him, Harlan slit his own throat to make his death look like a suicide rather than an accident. However, the ending of Knives Out reveals that his death was no accident. It was brought about through the actions of Ransom, who conspired to have Marta accidentally kill his grandfather. Like the rest of his family, Ransom had been cut out of Harlan's will, which instead left everything to Marta. But if Marta appeared to have murdered Harlan, the new will would have been invalidated, and the fortune would have been divided up among the Thrombey family, Ransom included. How Harlan Thrombey died, and who killed him. The literal answer to the question of who killed Harlan Thrombey is that he killed himself, cutting his own throat with a knife. The tragedy of his death is that Harlan hadn't actually been given a morphine overdose at all, and there was no need for him to kill himself. Ransom planned to have Marta give Harlan the overdose by switching the labels on the medicine in her bag, and then stealing the antidote so that his grandfather's life could not be saved. However, when the medication was accidentally knocked over, the two vials were switched again, so Marta actually gave Harlan the correct and safe doses. Throughout the film, Mart is riddled with the guilt of believing that she killed Harlan through her carelessness in not checking the labels on the medicine. Instead, not checking the labels is what would have saved his life. Marta knew by the consistency of the liquids which medicine was correct, and she gave him the right doses on instinct. As Benoit Blanc explains, she got it right despite Ransom's tampering because Marta is a good nurse. Although Harlan's death was technically at his own hands, Ransom is undoubtedly to blame in the Knives Out ending. Had he not switched the labels on the medicine, Marta would never have believed that she had accidentally given Harlan a morphine overdose, and Harlan would never have killed himself to cover for her. But even if Ransom was only guilty of attempted murder towards Harlan, he seals his fate by killing Fran to try and cover his tracks. Ransom's plan and Fran's murder. Ransom's original plan was simple. On the night of Harlan's death, after storming out over the will change, he returned to the house and climbed up the trellis to avoid being spotted. He switched the labels on the medicine in Marta's bag and took the antidote for a morphine overdose. He then climbed back down the trellis but was spotted by Harlan's mother, Great Nana Juanetta, Kay Callan. Ransom then snuck back into the house during Harlan's funeral, when he knew it would be empty, to switch everything in the medicine bag back and avoid suspicion. Ransom anonymously hired Benoit to investigate Harlan's death, believing that Benoit's detective skills would pin Marta as the killer. This plan went awry in 3 ways. The first was that Fran Edie Patterson, the housekeeper, spotted Ransom tampering with the medicine bag the second time and realized that something was afoot. The second was that Ransom could not possibly have predicted that the medicine vials would be knocked over and that Marta would mix them up all by herself. The third was Harlan's decision to kill himself to ensure that Marta wouldn't get in trouble. After Marta confessed to Ransom that she had killed Harlan, Ransom realized the murder of Harlan could be uncovered when Harlan's blood tests showed up as perfectly normal, showing no morphine overdose. The death would be ruled a suicide, Marta would receive Harlan's fortune, and Ransom would get nothing. To ensure that the blood test results couldn't clear Marta's name, Ransom burned down the lab where the tests were held. However, there was another fly in the ointment. Fran took the medicine bag from the crime scene and sent Ransom a photocopy of the blood test, revealing that she had her own copy with the warning, "I know what you did," and instructions to come and meet her. He sent the note to Marta so that she would believe she was being threatened with a blood test that proved a morphine overdose. Ransom emailed Marta telling her to come to the meeting place after the originally designated time. He met Fran first, gave her a fatal morphine overdose, and set Marta up to find her.